you can't get from the realtor.
True, indeed, isn't it?
So your question of should people trust us? We come, we present the property to you, and you just proceed and pay. If it is about us, I can tell you can.
Okay.
Because we have done due diligence.
That is Talma Homes, isn't it?
You can.
Okay.
For sure. We do not market properties which we have not authenticated.
Yes.
That I can tell you as a fact. We can't lie to our clients. Because you see, we grow through referrals. So the moment you are involved in the process of defrauding someone, then you are stunting your growth. I can tell you that as a fact. But let me put a rider. It is important to confirm for yourself. It's very important.
Only.
The process can be, maybe it is taking some time. Don't be over trusting. Don't be over trusting. So I couldn't advise someone that you can walk to a company which is selling property,
yes,
and they tell you that this property is genuine, everything, and you proceed and make the payment. No. Please go through the entire process yourself so that you can confirm whatever you have been told by a realtor or by a marketing company.
Does it?
Yes.
Pretty much. Good. Let's move on to the next part of this conversation then. A lot of people ask you this question. Do I buy property, build myself and settle? Or do I buy property that is already ready and just start paying for that property that's already been developed? Which one is sweeter?
That's a common question that we get, that instead of spending all this money buying this property which is ready, why don't I build? I mean, I buy a piece of land and build. I usually look at it in two perspectives. Number one, it depends on where you want to live. It depends on where you want to stay. Where do you want to own that property? Let's give an example. You want to own a house in Lavington. Because, by the way, this is one of the areas where I transact a lot of business, in Lavington. The process of you buying land and building in Lavington, it will be too expensive. Because, you see, half an acre in Lavington can go as high as 100 million, 110 million, 120 million. Half an acre.
Yes.
The cost of construction will be a standard good 4 or 5 bedroomed house can take you about 15 million shillings. So if you are buying and building in Lavington, then you need something like 140 million for you to do that.
That's a lot.
So I mean, it can be out of reach for most people.
That's it.
So if, for example, you want to stay in upmarket area, definitely it will be better for you to buy. Because you see now, a developer will buy a piece of land like that, half acre, put 4 houses, right? And then sell each for about 60, 65, 70 million. So it becomes cheaper. Because rarely will you find many clients who can afford such high values of 140, 150, 200 million to build and construct. So depending on your budget, if you have 60, 70 million, then of course the only alternative you will have is to buy. If you want to live in Kileleshwa in an apartment, you won't buy a piece of land and actually build, because it will be too expensive. But if now you want to live in these outside the metropolis, like Rongai, Gong, Kitengela, or even in smaller towns like Kisii, Nyamira, these smaller towns, then of course you can consider building. Of course, the advantage, 2 striking advantages we are going to have with building is, one, you are going to eliminate the profit aspect which the developer earns. Because you see, once the developer has quantified the entire cost of setting up the house, he will add the profit. He will add the profit. So if you are building, then definitely you are not going to incur that extra cost of the profit. Number 2, you are going to have the design of the house which you want. Because you see, when you're buying, you have to buy already a finished product. So you rarely have a big say on how the design and everything should be. But when you're building for yourself, of course, you can do the living room the way you want, the kitchen the way you want, everything. So there will be an advantage there. So clearly, when you're building, if it is in the areas that I've mentioned, it will be a bit cheaper. But again, Mr. Simba, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
Make sure you involve the right professionals to do the house for you. And that is a problem with us Kenyans. You know, we love shortcuts so much.
Yeah.
So you go back home to your village,
yeah, you buy a plant
and you get and you know, you get some friend of yours you were together in high school. Namwambia niko na mjengo hapa, come and help me do it. Right? Then someone comes and messes you up, does a shoddy job. Even when you look at it, you are like, what is this? So it is important that you involve the right professionals. Get an architect to draw the good plans for you. That is important. Get a quantity surveyor, QS, to give you the bill of quantities. A quantity surveyor will actually give you an estimate on how much you are going to spend in building that house. They'll tell you you will need this number of cement bags, you'll need these lorries of sand, ballast, building stones and everything. So get a QS who will give you the costing. So that then you can make a decision whether you want to build or not.
Yes.
Right? So get an engineer who will help you in ensuring that the construction is taking place well, and of course an experienced foreman. If you are not going to be there yourself, because if it is like, for example, you who's constructing, let's say, a house in Ngong, you are here. So you can't be there,
you can't be there.
You know, inspecting the project. You need a foreman who's reliable, who will make sure that materials will not be stolen from site. When they are mixing cement and sand, they are doing so in the right ratio. Right? And we will make sure that everything on site, it's happening well. If you are able to get those people and then you build for yourself, you will definitely save some money. You'll definitely save some money. So what I usually advise clients is that if you want to build for yourself, which is okay, you can build for yourself, make sure that you involve competent people in doing your project. Otherwise, you will build a home like I know someone who did a construction somewhere, reached a point and put a roof, and then they had to strip off the entire roof and redo it again because he went and brought his friend from somewhere in the village, and he put a roof. Even when you get there, it is so badly done that you will even ask him whether you did it yourself. so of course it is important to get people who are qualified to do it for you. If you get the right guys, if you get the right guys who are experienced in doing the job, and you get a right foreman who's going to manage the project for you, you will get the product which you want, and you will save the stars.
Pretty much.
Yes.
So here's the thing that I want to go into next. Like I said, you're speaking to a lot of millennials now. Those are the ones that you're selling these properties to as your ready market that is already looking to settle. They're faced with the option of paying for this property themselves or getting into mortgage. When somebody comes to you and says, I'm interested in this property and I want to do a mortgage around it, who are those that you advise to get into mortgage, and who are those you advise not cut out for it?
Mortgage, of course, you see that is now the most common method that people are using in acquiring properties, especially if you're buying a house. Because let's say you want to buy a property of 8, 9, 10, 15 million. It's rare that you will find someone who has that cash in the bank that is going to pay. So of course, you'll need to go for a mortgage. But the advice I give clients is that a mortgage can be good. What you need to do is to make sure that you have done your financial calculations well. Because you see, let me tell you, with financial institutions, The moment you start defaulting, and they keep warning you, and the defaulting continues, they will auction the property. So don't just get into the mortgage without doing the proper financial calculations from your end. You ask yourself, if I'm going to take this mortgage, what is going to be the monthly deductions? Then you look at your sources of income and you ask yourself, can I afford to have these deductions done monthly? And because you see, a mortgage is a long-term thing, you might find you are paying it for 10 years, 15 years. Am I going to afford to pay all this amount of money monthly for the period of 15 years? If you feel that it is something you can afford, then you can go for the mortgage. But if you feel you are going to have a financial strain, then you better think twice before you go to the mortgage. You can, look, which one is better? Is it getting into the mortgage right now, you become strained, and you lose the property entirely, right? Or is it you maybe increasing your savings after some years so that you can get to the point whereby you have a larger deposit and the mortgage you are taking is smaller, such that you can now afford to pay the monthly payment? So it is always better to get ready financially. Don't rush into it. Because if you rush into it because your friend Mr. Simba has bought a property in Kilimani, and you also feel pressured, I also need to, then you get into that arrangement. You don't know how your friend has arranged himself financially, right? Then you end up losing the property. The other thing that you should consider, because like right now, mortgages some years ago, actually up to about a year ago, the rate of interest you could get around 10, 11, 12, 13% rate of interest. Right now it has shot up. It is at about 17%, except these are affordable housing. Affordable housing, you can still is at about 9%, yes, something like that. But it has to be a property which is valued at 9 million and below. These cheaper properties. But if you're buying an apartment of 15, 20, 25 million, then you are not within the bracket of affordable housing. So you pay the market interest rate, which is 17%. 17% is very high.
It's very high.
Yeah. So if you have not done your financial calculations properly, chances of you losing that property are very high.
Pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Good. Let's talk about the town Homes promise. For any other person who's listening to you and say, well, spoke passionately and eloquently about these issues of property, what is your promise to any other person who wants to walk into your office today and get some property or get some advisory?
The commitment that we usually give our clients is that you can be rest assured, and it's not an empty talk, you can be rest assured that any property we are going to present to you to buy, it is genuine and due diligence has been carried on it.
Yes.
That is one thing that we are going to assure you. Number two, we are going to walk with you through the process. And if you need any advice, because you see sometimes, Simba, what people need to get, it is even this advice I've been giving them, that you need a lawyer. You also need a good lawyer. And sorry, I didn't speak about it. Don't get any friend of yours who's a lawyer to do a property transaction for you, because you see, even law itself, it has several, let me call it, branches. You have criminal law. You have people who specialize on family and divorce and those things. So get someone, a lawyer who has experience in conveyancing, in property conveyancing. Because if you get a lawyer who has experience in criminal law, but does not have a lot of experience in property conveyancing, you will still lose your money.
You're going to still lose your money.
Yes, so it is not just any lawyer. So what we will do is that, apart from confirming to you that the properties we are giving you are authentic and they have been confirmed, we can also recommend to you proper professionals. We tell you that this lawyer specializes in property transactions, so he can do a good job for you. He can even identify that this piece of land had some issues even 20, 30 years ago. You see these things like what is called the Ndungu report, when they listed some pieces of land which ostensibly they have been grabbed in Nairobi. A good lawyer who has experience in conveyancing will tell you that this piece of land had an issue.
It's got issues.
So you need, we can recommend to our clients that yes, the properties we have are genuine, but these are also the proper professionals you are going to deal with. So we will work with them the entire journey and make sure that from the beginning to the end, they are going to get their property in the right way.
Pretty
so
much.
That they're not going to have any issues.
It's a good thing you mentioned about that. I want you to take 45 seconds to respond to this question. That for majority of these property homes nowadays, or these property sellers, it is come in, let's buy. Once you start paying, that relationship essentially ends. What's the unique journey that you work with your clients who decide to work with them? What is that? 45 seconds.
The client walks into our office. We listen to the client carefully, what the client wants, such that whatever we are going to present to you, it is exactly what you are looking for. It is not just general. So we listen to you, we present to you exactly what you want, and then we give you all the necessary support, all the necessary advice to ensure that all the processes which I've mentioned here, we are going to handle it for you, together with you, and with proper professionals up to the end when you get your document. A document which you can hold on to and which is not going to give you any issues.
I can't add anything. You know what? Look for them. Talma Homes. Just search for it. Talk to them. The number is right there on the website. Once you open it like this, you'll be. If you want to speak to him directly, also once you call, then say, hey, I want to speak to Wesley. That's it. Not any other person, because he's the one who's come in and essentially spoken about these issues as passionately as he has this morning. You know what? Land extension, like I told you, gotta go back and look at how I normally approach this property of issue. The issues of property acquisition. Take him back to the time that he joined us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Any other question that you might have and those contributions, like we do, we'll send it back to him as soon as they land on our numbers on WhatsApp and our social media platforms. Tomorrow is another day for another session. Oh, by the way, Nairobi is buying boats for El Nino. So be ready as well. Wesley, thank you very much for coming by.
You're welcome, Mr. Simba. Thank you very much for having me.
Anytime.